Hi everyone, I'm Jason Selesky and I'm here with Eric Goodman, author of Tracks, a novel and stories. How you doing today, Eric?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. The first question we have for you is, when did you first start writing and what got you interested in it?
The first time I was really interested in writing was probably in the third grade, a long time ago. We had a short story assignment and I was just captivated by it. I wrote twice as much as I needed to, and ever since then I just knew that I loved writing, and I've been a writer ever since then.
Got the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
What is your educational background?
Well, I'm actually, even though I knew I wanted to be a writer that early, I majored in sociology because I felt like that would give me more to write about, because that's what I was really interested in, was what makes people tick and how do they interact with each other. So psychology and sociology was really my background, with minors in English and literature.
Interesting. What is some advice you have for aspiring authors?
I think the first thing that new authors need to do is, a lot of times they're afraid to get started because they want everything to be perfect. I was that way. And I think the most important thing is to know that your first draft is just a first draft. So no matter how nervous you are about starting, you should just sit down and write it and know that you're going to rewrite it so that you can always make it perfect later. So I think that's probably the first thing. Just get started and don't be afraid to write the first few words.
Okay. We understand you have published a lot of pieces, and we were wondering, out of all of your work, which piece of writing was your favorite?
Well, my favorite would be my current novel, the one that's coming out, Tracks, which is a novel and stories, because it's the first full adult fiction book that I've had published. So that's something I'm really excited about.
Okay, congratulations on
Thank
that,
you.
by the way.
Thanks.
One of your earlier works I wanted to talk about, Flightless Goose, which is actually illustrated by your wife.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you where you got the idea for that story.
Actually, believe it or not, Flightless Goose is based on a real goose. Unlike most of my fiction, it's one of the few things that was based on an individual character. And we used to live in Columbus, Ohio, on a lake, and there was a real goose that was hit by a car and was not able to fly after that. And it stayed alive even after the geese left for the winter, just by the neighbors in the area fed it and kept it going. So that was really based on a true character.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sad story.
It had a happy ending.
Oh, good. I wanted to get back to Tracks, which is coming out on June 30th.
Yes.
Did you want to just tell us a little bit more about it in general?
Sure. Tracks is a novel and stories. So it's set on a train traveling from Baltimore to Chicago. So each chapter in the book is a standalone individual story of one of the passengers on the train. A main character in one story will show up as a supporting actor or actress in another story, so that their stories kind of continue within other people's stories. So they connect to make a full novel as well as individual stories.
I see. It's really interesting.
Thanks.
Concept. How do you feel about all the praise that has been receiving?
I've been really happy about it. It's been overwhelming, actually, the number of people who've offered to read advance copies and give blurbs and reviews. So fortunately, it's gotten some good reviews so far, so I'm happy about that.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thanks. That's almost as good as selling copies, getting the praise from your peers.
What gave you the inspiration or the idea to write Tracks?
Actually, I think the thing that probably inspired me to write a novel and stories was I wanted to do two things at one time. I wanted to be writing short fiction and have short stories I could publish in literary journals, and I also wanted to be working on my novel. So doing a novel and stories was a way to do both at the same time. What's interesting is, at the time that I wrote Tracks, the first draft of it, they weren't that popular. There were a few. I mean, there have always been novels and stories since there were novels just about. And so it was a relatively unpopular concept. Now it's gotten pretty big. The last AWP conference had a session on writing linked stories. A recent Pulitzer Prize winner was based on, or was a novel and stories. So, so hopefully I'll be able to ride a wave, even though I didn't know I was going to do that when I wrote it.
Yeah. Which of the stories and tracks is your favorite?
I don't know. It's hard to say because you really have to care for or hate, but usually care for your characters in order to write about them. So I really like a lot of them. It's hard to pinpoint which one's my favorite. Probably the one that's been around the longest was the one in the first story, Pruitt's Plans, and the character is Pruitt. He might be a contender for my favorite character in tracks. But I kind of like all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Are any of the characters based on real people?
That's kind of a loaded question. It's kind of like the autobiographical question you get about, are the characters based on you, or is it based on a true story? And the answer is yes and no, because there's no one copy of a person in the book. They're all composites of conversations I overheard, or people I know, or things that happened to me, things that happened to other people, things I read about. So they're kind of based on real things that really happened somewhere, and I kind of combine them to make different characters. Okay. So those are kind of the seeds that grow the characters.
Interesting. I actually go to school in Baltimore, which is where the train departs from.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting to hear that you included places like Fells Point and Federal Hill and Goodman's in Baltimore, like local regional spots. And I was wondering what made you decide on that and the geographical themes.
Well, that was kind of easy because I live in Baltimore, and I've been here for longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life. Okay. So, it was natural for me to set it here because I knew Baltimore. It's also a very rich city, very unique. There's a really rich backdrop for the characters. So I thought, you know, if I set it in individual places that people know, that would kind of add some reality to it, kind of ground it, and give it a regional tie as well.
Very down to earth. If you could share a train ride from Baltimore to Chicago with any three people, who would it be?
That's a tough one. I guess the right answer is my family. My daughter, who just turned 13 today, became a teenager. My son and my wife. But outside of family, if I had to pick three people, it would probably be three writers that I admire. Maybe John Steinbeck, Ernest Hemingway, and maybe a future writer who hasn't been made yet, that we don't know yet, like someone from the future.
Okay. Is there anything in particular you want readers to take away from the book?
Well, Tracks is really all about just how people touch one another and how even a stranger on a train can make a difference in someone's life. So I guess I'd like people to come away from reading Tracks with maybe feeling like they'd been on the train, like they've been on the train with these passengers, like they know them, and maybe they'll look at other people in their own communities or that they meet day in and day out, and try to think about their lives and connect with them.
Okay, and the last question we have for you today is, of all the accomplishments you've had in your writing career, what has meant the most to you?
There's probably two things that stand out most. One, obviously, is getting Tracks published, because it's my first novel, so I'm really proud about that. And it's taken years and years to get there, so it's been a long and winding line of tracks. The other thing was when I got my agent a few years ago. That was a big moment for me because I'd been trying for years to get a literary agent, and to sign an agent or have an agent in New York City validate my writing and tell me it's good enough that I want to put my neck on the line to try to sell it, that to me was a big validation of my writing. So I was proud of that.
Okay.
So it's a toss-up between getting an agent and getting the book published.
Okay, and I have one more question for you. The book comes out on June 30th. Where can people buy it?
Well, hopefully everywhere. It's going to be available in bookstores nationwide. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone will stock it. So if your bookstore, your favorite bookstore doesn't have it, ask for it, they'll be able to order it. And then it's also going to be at barnesandnoble.com, at amazon.com, like everything else, and at atticusbooksonline.com.
Okay.
So there's a lot of places, but the easiest thing to remember is amazon.com.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to thank you for talking with us today about tracks. And,
my pleasure.
If anyone wants to learn more about the story, they can visit www.tracksnovel.com.